Please send $1,000 to Double Damage Games to receive an image of the ship you'd like to eventually buy in our game once we finish designing it, and we'll get you on the list.
Alright guys, experiencing technical difficulty, therefore we will
Shields up, Ironbreakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another edition of the Conscast, and in today's episode I'm going to be talking to you about a game that I do not want you to miss out on in 2019. The name of that game is Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Now, as you may be aware, space games aren't really the bread and butter of my channel, but every now and then I enjoy getting immersed in a good space game. You guys might have seen not so long ago the video that I did on Everspace for the Nintendo Switch, because I've been looking for a good space game on the Nintendo Switch, and Everspace is pretty decent. Or if you've been around longer, you might have seen the videos that I've done on Elite Dangerous, which for those of you that play Elite Dangerous, I've played way too much of that game to give you guys some idea. I've played enough to grind the Imperial reputation to be able to buy a cutter, and then I also A-graded the crap out of that cutter and engineered the crap out of it into a combat ship. And at this point you can all point and laugh, because let's just say, even though you can do combat with the cutter, I would not say that it is a particularly exceptional combat vessel, in my personal opinion. But anyway, let's talk about this game, Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, and why do I think it is important for you to check this out when it comes out later this year. Well, for starters, I know that a lot of you guys are going to be like, well, I don't really tend to get into space games because I find that controlling a spaceship is pretty daunting. Learning all of these controls and figuring out how to fly the damn thing is just completely insane. And that's like the first thing that I want to tackle, because these developers actually have a pretty good track record of simplifying things down to the point that pretty much anyone can play the game. Their original title, which was just called Rebel Galaxy, is actually a game that I've also played. I did not play enough of it. I've actually been playing a little bit more of it over the past couple of days, almost in preparation for the imminent release of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, which still doesn't actually have a release date. But, you know, I just kind of felt that space itch, and I just kind of got into that. But anyway, the original Rebel Galaxy actually put all ships on the same plane, so there's like no Z-axis, for those of you that understand like the way 3D visuals work and whatnot. But with that, it basically equated the combat and maneuvering of the ship and all of that stuff to, I think the easiest way to explain it is like the ship combat in Assassin's Creed Black Flag. If you guys remember that, basically, you know, you're going with your ship through the sea, and then you kind of aim towards other ships and you just broadside them with cannons and stuff like that. That is the combat that you had in the original Rebel Galaxy. All of the ships that you actually piloted were considered capital ships, so, you know, it made sense that there were these lumbering big vessels that would you just kind of like put them side to side and broadside the crap out of everything. And I thought that combat was particularly satisfying, and it's a good way to introduce people to a space game without necessarily overwhelming them with the, you know, the simulation aspects that you have in more complex games like, say, for instance, Elite Dangerous, which, to put that into context, I love the first couple of minutes that I played of Rebel Galaxy, the original Rebel Galaxy, whereas I hated the original 3 hours that I played of Elite Dangerous. Like, I legitimately hated it because I kept trying to fly the ship and I had no idea how to do it. And the tutorials, and I did the tutorials and I was like, dude, I hate this game. Like, it took me a good long while to actually come around on Elite Dangerous, and, you know, eventually I ended up falling in love with it, as you guys probably know by now. But with Rebel Galaxy, I never really felt that. You know, I'm not saying that one game is better than the other. These are two vastly different games. Both of them are sandboxes, but whereas Elite Dangerous focuses a lot more on its simulations and authenticity of flight and all of that stuff, Rebel Galaxy always tried to focus more on the fun aspects of a space game. And that's the same thing that you're going to be getting with Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, because they're working in all kinds of assists and stuff like that for players that are not particularly comfortable at flying a spaceship. Now, all of this stuff is completely optional, so as you become more proficient at flying your spaceship, you can start turning these assists off and just like actually start mastering it. But the cool thing about it is that they've gone down to the point where, you know how a lot of times when you are, you know, maybe if you've played a space sim game before, you end up in a position where it's like, I can't find the enemy. I'm trying to locate the enemy. I can't read this radar. They actually have a system built in that kind of like steers you a little bit towards your enemy and leaves you to then just, do maneuvers like do barrel rolls and fine tune the aiming of the ship in order to get your guns to hit the enemy and stuff like that, which I think is a cool way to introduce newer players to space sim combat. Now, on Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, it is going to be completely different from what we've had in Rebel Galaxy, because like the original Rebel Galaxy was all about capital ships and broadside combat and all that stuff. Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is going to be more about fighters. It is going to be about you actually flying these space fighters, these more nimble crafts, which is why it's going to have full space sim movement. It's also going to have HOTAS support. So if you're, hardcore, elite dangerous, veteran pilot, all that stuff, you can still apply all of that experience to Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Naturally, it's going to feel a lot more arcadey because, as they themselves put it, they're like, look, we're about putting massive explosions in space. We're about the satisfaction of you shooting at enemy ships and blowing them up, right? So that's going to be the more type of gameplay that they're going to be focusing on, as opposed to like the more background simulation and all of that stuff, or the size of the galaxy and all of these things. It's a much more concentrated experience, which, to be completely honest, I kind of think that I'm going to enjoy, because one of the things that I found that burned me out a lot on Elite Dangerous was how often, because of the fact that I was doing a lot of missions related to Thargoids and whatnot, it always bothered me how often they would fall back on the SRV mechanics, which is basically like this buggy. So they'd be like, oh yeah, fly your ship to this planet. Now land, take out the buggy, and do a bunch of shit with the buggy. And I was just like, dude, I want to do things in my ship. I don't want to do things on this car, this little space car that you've done. Like, the space car is really cool, this little space buggy, but I want to do things in the ship. And I think that Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is going to appeal to that side of me a lot more. Now, an important thing here is a lot of people are probably going to be asking, okay, so this is single player, is going to have co-op. Everything that I've read so far indicates that it is going to be a single player game. I haven't seen any mention whatsoever about multiplayer or co-op or anything of that nature. The original Rebel Galaxy was a single player game, as well as the price point of this game, which they've actually already announced the price, which this is going to be a $30 game. Pretty much indicates to me that this is going to be a single player experience. However, it is one of those things that, especially if you take into consideration where the industry is going nowadays, it just made me that much more inclined to talk about this game and to present this game to you. Just the fact that everybody nowadays is like, oh, pre-order this and early access that and microtransaction this and triple microtransaction this and put that thing on mobile 3 times on mobile, put everything on mobile. That's kind of like what the industry is now. So whenever I see a developer just go like, oh yeah, our game's going to be, full-fledged single-player experience, it'll cost $30 and that's that. It's like there's no bullshit around it, right? And, you look at the visuals, the game looks good. It's got, the same kind of stuff that you've come to expect from space games, where you fly from space station to space station. The story is completely optional. You can follow the story if you want to, and there is what they consider like a win state when you eventually finish the story. But ultimately, you finishing the story does not finish the game. You still have all the simulation, you still have missions that you can keep on doing, you still have ships that you can keep on buying, and there's something really cool about all of those things being made in an accessible manner. And the thing that really surprised me, that I only found out today, is that this game is actually going to be coming out on the Switch. So as far as I'm concerned, that is going to basically be the best space game on the Switch. And it is also going to be one of the cheapest games on the Switch because, let's be completely honest here. Most of the good games on the Nintendo Switch are expensive as fuck, okay? I mean, I think everybody's been talking about how a lot of the games on Switch are expensive, which is a fair point. There's also a lot of quality experiences there, make no mistake. Switch is one of my favorite consoles, but a $30 on-release game on the Switch that appears like it's going to be pretty friggin' quality, I am extremely curious to see how that is going to pan out. Now, another cool thing about this developer, by the way, which I've talked about this in the past, but I don't know how many people saw that video because, YouTube and throttling of videos and whatnot. These guys actually a while back when they were preparing to, do their next game after they did Rebel Galaxy, they were like, you know what? We should do a Star Wars game. And who owns Star Wars? EA. So these guys actually pitched a game to EA, and EA just took a dump on it. And it pissed me off so much because especially knowing the potential of, Rebel Galaxy and what they could have done with something like that for a Star Wars game, I was just like, no. And you guys can see I'm probably going to try to find the gameplay footage if it's still available to put it on this video. And it blew my mind that we couldn't have that game. And you know why? Because they were too busy making fucking Battlefront 2. And they're like, no, we're going to have this one Star Wars game. It's going to be Battlefront 2. And it's going to have this fighter mode. It's going to be amazing. Yeah, right. My balls, dude. There's no way anything like that could have ever been as good as a fully dedicated space sim game for Star Wars. That would have been the best thing ever. I cannot believe that, EA basically shot. I mean, I can believe that EA shot it down. It just leaves me really disappointed. So these guys did that, and they got shut down. They just turned around. They're like, well, you know what? Just gonna do our own fucking game then. Fuck you guys. And they started doing Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, which is looking friggin' awesome. Now, one of the other questions that some of you guys are gonna have is, okay, so you're talking about how we're gonna be flying fighters and whatnot throughout most of this game. What about if we just want to do, the old space trucking? There will also be cargo ships. There will not be capital ships like in Rebel Galaxy, but there will be cargo ships present. They will also have like turrets and some form of defense that you can put on your cargo ships so that you can engage in space trucking. If that is your thing, you can fly from system to system, figure out which commodities are worth what, and then, make your trading routes and whatnot and start selling commodities back and forth. As a matter of fact, another really cool thing that they've done is they basically implemented an 8-pool game into this. I kid you not. You can just straight up go to a space station and play some freaking 8-pool. I was like, what? What is even this game? There's also dice poker, and you can actually play for modules for your ship, like guns, or you can play for money if that's something. So it's almost something that okay, I've been doing all this space combat, I need to take a break. That's fine. Go to the space station, shoot some 8-pool. It's just like, what? What is going on? It's like, I would not even have dreamed that you're just like, we're just going to put an 8-pool game in the middle of this spaceship game that also happens to cost $30. It's not like this is a whole lot of value or anything like that. Beyond that, you'll also be able to unlock companions as you play through the main quest. Now, in the original Rebel Galaxy, you were able to hire mercenaries in different space stations, which would basically give you like a fighter escort that would escort your capital ship and it would fight for you. And they're actually pretty damn useful. I did not use them the first time that I played the game, but I've been using mercenaries ever since I started replaying it now on the PS4. And they're really friggin' good. So you're definitely going to be wanting to play through the story, even if just to unlock the companions, so that you can call them in for assist, because they're probably going to prove to be a great asset when it comes to combat, or even just as an escort for your cargo runs, if that is something that you want to engage in. But one of the things that really blew me away in the middle of all of this, right? Okay, so we're getting a full-fledged space game with a proper story, single-player campaign, the whole simulation aspect of it. You can do space trucking, you can buy spaceships, you can do all different kinds of missions that they're working on. As a matter of fact, they're saying that some missions will be chained. So and these are procedurally generated missions, and they will still be chained. So you'll do a mission, and then that will lead you to do a different mission, and so on and so forth. I'm assuming there will be a similar reputation grind to what we currently have in the original Rebel Galaxy, which will basically allow you to side with outlaws if that's what you want to do. You can side with the authorities, or you can side with the outlaws. Again, this is something that you can do in Rebel Galaxy, so I'm assuming this is also going to be something that you will be able to do in Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. But besides all of that stuff, They basically said that after the game comes out, they're going to be working on releasing the development tools of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw so that players can make their own mods to the game. They're just going to basically give you everything that they've used to create the game so that you can go ahead, turn around, and make your own missions, make your own spaceships. And, you know, I think that the modding community around this game is going to be insane. I mean, depending on how much, you know, people are actually aware of it, because, again, this is a game that I basically see almost nobody talking about. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? Like, everybody's upset at the video game industry because these companies are doing all of these shady business practices, and here you have someone that is just like, honest to God, trying to give you a good experience at a reasonable price, and they're going to give everybody modding tools so that you can mess around with this as much as you want. I guarantee there's going to be total conversions of this game that are going to basically transform it into some kind of Star Wars thing, which EA is then going to turn around and sue the pants out of whoever tries to do that shit. So it's probably going to have to be underground projects and whatnot. But at the same time, just like the limitless potential of it, it just, oh, I'm so excited about it. And the other thing, I was just watching another video from these guys before, as I was doing research to do this video, right? And they're going to put in, I think this is probably only going to be on the PC version, I'm not entirely sure, but they basically have this tool that they're going to put in the game itself. So at any point in time, you can just go to like a space station or something and be like, hey, I want to paint my ship. And you click there and it's just like, there's a Photoshop-like thing for you to basically create whatever custom skin you want for your ship, to the point where you can bring up like JPEGs and whatnot, and you can just like splatter that onto your ship and it will be rendered in the game. And I'm just like, so what are you people even doing right now? It's like, you know how there's a lot of these games that be like, oh yeah, we're gonna sell this game, and then we're gonna sell you the microtransactions to get all of these different skins and shit for your ship. These guys are going to give you a Photoshop-like program so that you can basically make your own skins for the ships. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Oh man, it just feels like it's gonna be so amazing. Again, I haven't gotten to play it, so I know that maybe I'm getting super excited and who the hell knows what's gonna come out of it. But here's what I can tell you. I've played quite a bit of the original Rebel Galaxy over the last couple of days. If there's one flaw with that particular game, I will say that it does feel quite a bit repetitive. A lot of times you feel like you're just, at least because of the play style that I'm doing, I feel like I'm just flying from engagement to engagement. But that is also because I'm only picking up combat missions, because there are other things to do. Like, I haven't even tried mining, but you can also mine, you can do space trades, you can do all of these things. But one of the things that excites me a lot in the middle of all this is that even in the base Rebel Galaxy, you can hail enemy ships. So like, you know how when you're out and about in Elite Dangerous and you just encounter another spaceship, and technically speaking, your interactions can be you shoot them or they shoot you. I mean, you know, there's a couple of more things here and there, especially if they're other players. Sure, you can talk to the other, but I mean, if you're talking about NPCs, you can shoot them or they can shoot you. And in Rebel Galaxy, you can actually hail them and you can tell them like, hey, let's trade. And sometimes people will have trades. Sometimes people will have like tips to tell, hey, this system is like buying really high on this specific commodity. So you can go look for that commodity. And I just like that aspect of it, right? I mean, sure, it's limited in Rebel Galaxy. A lot of the times I'll hail a ship and I'll get to see like the same model that I've seen for the last 10 ships or so. But still, the fact that it is there, and the fact that the developers have specifically stated that they are committed to improving that, the interactions that you're able to have, the fact that in Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, ships will be able to gauge like your power depending on your weaponry and all of that stuff, and they will make different decisions based on that. So you can basically threaten them and tell them, dump your cargo or I'll shoot you down. Or you can try to, I don't even know what other kinds of interactions you can have, but a lot of times people will come up in this game, for instance, and they will threaten you in the original Rebel Galaxy, and you'll be able to like empty your hold, your cargo hold, and just say, hey, leave me alone, take all my stuff. And they will let you leave. Like, I've actually had to do that once because I came into this situation where there was just like friggin' 5 capital ships out of nowhere accompanied by like 20 fighters. And I was just like, holy shit. and I was just trying to navigate to a nearby mission, and I had some stuff in my hold, but nothing particularly valuable. So they hailed me, and I just hailed them back, and I was like, hey, take all my stuff, leave me alone. And they basically said, fine transaction. They let me leave. So those kinds of negotiations being possible in a game like that is something that I'm particularly excited for. Anyway, at this point, I just kind of feel like I'm rambling. Just seriously, guys, check it out. Go look up gameplay. Go check out the trailer about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw. Get informed. I know that I will be doing more content about this game once it comes out, but I just wanted to showcase it to you. By the way, if you end up getting particularly excited about it, you can always get the original Rebel Galaxy. Probably it's going to be dirt cheap on Steam or wherever they're selling it now. I know that it was free a while back on PlayStation Plus. That's actually how I got it on PS4. So it should be at a pretty reasonable price, and it's kind of like an entryway that you guys can get a feel for the universe and whatnot, and you even interact with the main character of Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, because Rebel Galaxy Outlaw is a prequel to the original Rebel Galaxy, and in the Rebel Galaxy Outlaw you're going to be playing as Juno, and Juno is one of the characters that you interact with in the original Rebel Galaxy. Also, that game has the best soundtrack for a space game ever. The original Rebel Galaxy has the best soundtrack for a space game ever. Don't even try to like defy me on this, because you're wrong, okay? Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, hit it up with a like. Remember, you can subscribe if you enjoy my videos and hit the notification icon so that you actually get notified when the video goes live. All of the comments and feedback in the comment section below. Tell me what you think about Rebel Galaxy Outlaw, and I'll see you guys in the next one.